Sometimes it takes being crazy to state the obvious. In spiritual philosophy, a lesser-known name stands out as a profound thinker who challenged traditional beliefs, Erasmus of Rotterdam. He stood against obscurantism and the intolerance of religious orders, becoming one of the central figures of humanism in the Renaissance. His dream was a spiritually united Europe, with a common language to unite all people. He was acclaimed the Prince of Humanism. He was driven to write in praise of folly, exposed early on to a religious environment and intellectual curiosity. He adopted a stance that in many angles could be considered crazy for his time. Madness, of course, operates not only at the limits of what is considered acceptable, but also at the limits of what is conventional. But how often is it the common mediocrity that could be considered madness? How often does the avant-garde or insanity of one generation become the most banal truths of another? The point is that what you most seek may often be hidden right before your eyes. Some of the most revealing and transformative concepts are considered madness by the majority. It's like when you're in a carnival environment, for example, and you don't want to drink because you know the evils of alcohol, but when you say you won't drink, others ridicule you or consider it madness. Schopenhauer once observed that truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed, then it is violently repressed, and finally, it is accepted as simply evident. When we think about some truths, we are still in the first phase of accepting them. We are simply too cowardly and conditioned to act otherwise. To reach the truth, we often have to go through deep disillusionment, abyss, or madness. Stay with me, immortal friend, as we explore this theme through the lens of great thinkers and my own experience. In my youth, I remember being locked up for 4 months alone in a cell, with that feeling of madness and absurdity that saved me and led me to profound realizations. Let's explore the nuances of madness and its unusual path in the video. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the works of the great philosopher Plato. Plato was a philosopher dedicated to the idea that a certain kind of insanity sent from the gods was an authentic means to divine truth, and that ecstatic and non-rational ways of knowing were not only possible, but preferable to the dialectic of philosophy. That's why I say, free yourself through knowledge, transform yourself through perception. Reason and insanity interact with each other as we seek this divine truth. We get lost and found in fragments of everyday life and often forget who we are on a more fundamental level. Let's explore the mania or divine madness described by Plato and other scholars as a way to achieve greatness, enlightenment, and fascinating truths. First, what is madness beyond clinical definitions? In History of Madness in the Classical Age, Michel Foucault investigates the evolution of the perception of madness from the Renaissance to the early modern period. He argues that, in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, madness was often seen as a form of wisdom or a state close to the divine, linked to truth and revelation. Madness had a place in society and was intertwined with everyday life. With the arrival of the Classical Age, this perception changed drastically. Madness began to be seen as something to be corrected, confined, and separated from society. Foucault explores how hospitals and psychiatric institutions were used to isolate the mad, reflecting a shift in how society dealt with those deemed irrational. Foucault argues that this change in the perception of madness did not come about due to an advancement in the understanding or treatment of the human condition, but rather due to a change in the structures of power and social control. He suggests that madness at its roots maintains a deep relationship with the essential truths of the human condition, a relationship that was obscured by rationalism and the need for order. Plato, on the other hand, offers a different view of madness in several of his works, but it is in the Symposium that he most clearly articulates his view on divine madness. Through the speech of Socrates, Plato distinguishes between common madness, which is harmful, and forms of madness inspired by the gods, which are beneficial and desirable. Plato identifies 4 types of divine madness: prophetic, initiatory or ritualistic, poetic, and amorous. Prophetic madness is inspired by Apollo and leads to true prophecy. Initiatory, related to the rituals of Dionysus, connects the individual to the divine. Poetic, inspired by the muses, awakens creativity and innovation. And amorous madness, sent by Eros, is the highest form of madness, as it guides the soul in its search for beauty and truth, leading to the creation of true virtue and immortality through love. For Plato, these forms of madness are essential to achieving true knowledge and to the fulfillment of the soul, suggesting that madness can be a vehicle of transcendence, a means by which individuals can connect with the divine and achieve higher forms of understanding and awareness. Plato maintained that knowledge or justified true belief was only possible concerning eternal and immutable objects. According to Plato, the only entities of this kind were the forms, or ideas, which are something like universal and almost divine concepts such as goodness, justice, beauty, unity, and equality. And how can you harness your madness? Madness can be seen as a break from conventional norms, allowing for the expression of creative and innovative ideas. By freeing ourselves from the confines of strict rational thought, we can explore new possibilities and approaches in art, science, and technology. Often, madness is associated with a state of divine inspiration. In the creative process, whether in writing, art, or music, allowing moments of madness can lead to a more authentic and profound expression. This may involve following intuitive impulses or delving into altered states of consciousness to access unique ideas and feelings. The experience of madness, whether personal or through observation, can enhance empathy and understanding of human complexities. Recognizing and accepting the various facets of the human condition can inspire works of great social and emotional impact, as well as foster a more inclusive and compassionate society. Just as Plato suggested that mania could lead to divine knowledge, embracing forms of madness can help us question and transcend the limits of conventional knowledge. This can lead to philosophical, scientific, or spiritual discoveries that challenge the status quo and expand our understanding of the world. The experience of madness, especially when viewed as a journey or process of transformation, can offer opportunities for deep growth and self-awareness. Confronting and integrating crazy or irrational aspects of our personality can lead to greater authenticity and personal fulfillment. By questioning social norms and challenging what is considered sensible or mad, we can contribute to cultural and social renewal. Madness, in this context, can be a powerful force for questioning obsolete power structures and inspiring progressive change. The key to using madness as a path to greater accomplishments and greatness lies in the ability to navigate between creativity and disorder in a balanced manner. Recognizing the transformative potential of madness without getting lost in its potentially destructive aspects can be a powerful means of achieving a fuller and more meaningful life. Contrary to the modern view that often associates madness exclusively with mental disorders or irrational behavior, Plato acknowledges a dimension of mania that is divinely inspired and capable of leading to higher forms of knowledge and fulfillment. Divine mania, according to Plato, is a kind of madness sent by the gods as a gift, allowing the individual to transcend ordinary rationality and achieve a state of ecstasy or profound inspiration. This form of mania is considered essential for poetry, religious mysteries, prophecy, and love. In particular, Plato argues that mania associated with love is capable of elevating the soul, guiding it in its pursuit of eternal truth and beauty, found in the contemplation of the ideal forms. Love inspired by mania, therefore, is a means by which the soul can ascend to the divine. Through the speech of Socrates, he narrates a revelation from Diotima, a wise woman who teaches Socrates about the nature of love. She describes how eros can be a path to the divine, where amorous mania stimulates the soul to seek beauty within itself, leading it to ascend progressive stages of love, from attraction to an individual's beautiful body to love for beauty in all its forms, and finally, to the contemplation of absolute beauty. Plato presents us with one of his most provocative and startling conceptions, the idea that mania, or divine madness, far from being mere folly, is actually a gift from the gods, capable of unveiling the deepest and most essential truths about the universe to those who experience it. According to Plato, it is through mania that the human soul can rediscover its path back to the divine, and it is through the madness of love that the lover ascends to the pinnacle of wisdom. Plato goes further to suggest that those who cling rigidly to logical reasoning and argumentation may remain oblivious to these profound truths, accessible only to those touched by mania, the holders of the secret of true doctrine. The first prophetic mania is exemplified by the oracles of ancient Greece, such as the one at Delphi, known for its enigmatic prophecies about the future. The second, ritualistic mania, is associated with the healing power attributed to the mystery cults of the time, particularly the Eleusinian mysteries and the Dionysian rites. The third, poetic mania, describes how inspiration from the muses spills over to poets, particularly sacred poets. And finally, the most significant for Plato, erotic or love mania, describes how the appreciation of physical beauty can be the beginning of an ascending spiritual journey toward the realm of forms, culminating in the contemplation of the essence of beauty itself. Perhaps what we have in Plato is an attempt to combine the philosophical truths attained through logic and dialectic with the divine truths that are revealed only through mystery religions. Perhaps Plato, in his own philosophical project, is trying to make a grand synthesis of these two means to truth. His idea of direct revelation of divine truth through madness was rooted in a particularly Greek understanding of the relationship between gods and mortals. The ancient Greeks saw their gods as active in everyday life, influencing events and communicating messages to mortals through oracles, dreams, and signs. Mania was seen as a special form of divine communication, a state in which the soul was possessed or inspired by the gods, allowing hidden truths to be revealed. However, Plato was also making a deeper statement about the nature of wisdom and knowledge. By praising mania as a means of attaining divine truth, he was challenging the conventional notion that only reason and logical argumentation could lead to knowledge. For Plato, true wisdom could not be fully attained by a rational mind. It required an openness to transcendental experiences and a willingness to be guided by divine inspiration. This perspective remains relevant today, especially in a world dominated by science and logic. While reason and critical thinking are indispensable tools for understanding the world, Plato reminds us that there are dimensions of reality that may escape our rational understanding. Mania, in this sense, represents the human capacity to transcend the limits of the mind and access higher forms of knowledge. However, the question of how to integrate this view of divine wisdom with the more analytical approach of philosophy remains unanswered. Plato left this question open, suggesting that the path to true wisdom may be found in both reason and divine madness. It is up to each of us to explore these paths and determine how we can pursue the fullest and deepest knowledge possible. Reflecting on my own journey, I realize that even in the darkest and most challenging moments, there is wisdom underlying madness. Just as Plato recognized the importance of mania as a vehicle for divine truth, my experience in prison showed me that even in the abyss of madness, we can find profound insights and a deeper connection to our own humanity. As I faced isolation and uncertainty, madness pushed me to the limits of my own understanding, forcing me to confront hidden aspects of my mind and spirit. I remember moments of frenzied laughter in the cell, contrasting with moments of mental clarity where I wrote my most lucid thoughts amidst the surrounding madness. It was during these moments of introspection that I found unexpected peace, reminding me of Montaigne's words about human insignificance in the face of the macrocosm. In a world that reveres order and reason, madness emerges as a luminous breach in the fabric of normalcy, a portal to uncharted dimensions of being. It is not within the well-constructed walls of conventional knowledge, but in the unexplored vastness of madness, that many find the path to a profound spiritual awakening. Madness, with its invisible hands, unties the ropes that anchor us to the ground of known reality, inviting us to float freely in the infinite space of spirit. In this flight, freed from the shackles of ego and logic, we can see the tapestry of existence from a lofty perspective, where the lines between self and other, divine and mundane, dissolve into an indistinguishable unity. Here, madness is not a deviation but a pilgrimage to the purest essence of being, where spiritual awakening awaits not as a destination, but as a continuous revelation. In the darkness of the soul's night, where madness whispers veiled secrets, the spirit finds its dawn. It is in this deep dive into the abysses of the unknown that the holiest truths are revealed to the fearless heart, truths that do not lend themselves to the language of reason, but only to the poetry of being. Spiritual awakening, then, is not so much an ascent to the heavens, but a sinking into the depths, where the inner light shines brighter against the backdrop of madness. Madness, in its chaotic dance, shatters illusions and artifices, forcing the soul to confront its own infinitude. In this confrontation, pain and ecstasy intertwine, giving birth to a new vision of the divine, a vision that embraces both chaos and order, recognizing them as the two sides of the same cosmic coin. The spiritual awakening that emerges from this chaos is deeply personal, an untransferable experience that redefines the meaning of being. Thus, madness becomes an incomparable teacher, whose lessons are written not in words but in experiences lived in flesh and spirit. Those who dare to heed its call discover that spiritual awakening is not a state to be achieved, but a truth to be lived, that we are at once finite and infinite, human and divine, lost and found in the immensity of all that is. Madness, with its master key, opens the doors of perception, inviting us to enter and reside in the heart of mystery. The greatest madness could be wanting to be or believing to be common in a crazy world. In concluding this essay, it is important to remember that, just as Plato advocated mania as a path to divine truth, we must also recognize the importance of embracing madness in our own lives. Sometimes it takes being crazy to see the obvious, to find beauty in the simplest moments, and to dance to the music that others cannot hear. We must embrace and acknowledge our own madness, find joy in the little things, and seek the divine truth within ourselves. For madness is a persistent illusion, as what is normal for the spider is chaos for the fly. Gratitude for watching. Free yourself through knowledge, transform yourself through perception. Thanks for watching. What are your thoughts and feelings about all of this? I'd love to read in the comments. Share with special ones. Be awake and remember, freedom through knowledge, transformation through perception.